Everyone, my name's Dave. I'm really excited to be part of this class, and I just wanted to introduce myself and then give a quick little insight of what I'm using as far as recording goes, just to give you guys some ideas in case you've never done anything like this before. I'm using iMovie to put everything together, so I have a couple different clips that I'm kind of merging together. So I'm using iMovie as the main platform, and then I'm also using iPivo Presenter as the actual camera screen that you're seeing right now. And then finally, I'm using QuickTime Player to actually record each session. So I'm using 3 different things, and it sounds really complicated, but it's really not. It just takes a little bit of time to get used to. So I just wanted to show you guys kind of what I'm using, so that way you get some ideas in case, like I said, you've never done this before. So let's get started. So the first main question is, what are different ways the teachers can determine if something is allowable under fair use, and how will you determine if you can use something in your classroom or not? So that's a pretty interesting question. I know I've struggled with this a lot, even with coworkers. Like, hey, are we allowed to use this? Am I allowed to copy this? Is that allowed? So I wanted to show you guys a great resource. But before I do that, the one big thing that I have come across in my career is that you can't copy something that you purchased from a store that is a book. So if it's actually let's say you bought this great writing book and you want to make copies for all of your students, that is not allowed. That is not used under fair right, because you only purchased that one book as a resource for you, for the teacher. Most of the time, teachers purchase one student book and then they make 27 copies for all of their kids, which again is not allowed underneath the fair right law. So we might be thinking like, what's the big deal if we're really using this? But if we're modeling that type of behavior for our students, even if maybe they don't necessarily know that it's not the right thing, suddenly we're doing something wrong and then yelling at them when they're not using the fair right laws the way that we want them to, which is very hypocritical. So if we're going to expect our students to use these laws the right way, then we need to make sure that we're modeling them the right way as well. So I also have a really great resource that I wanted to show you guys, to take a look.
So this is a resource that I discovered from a different course from St. Francis, and I really like it because I think it displays a lot of the pieces that educators are really looking for. Can I use this or can I not? And I like that it gives you, the specifics of what's going on and what exactly it is that you need to use, what you can do, and then really what we're really looking for is the fine print on, what's the bottom line? Can I use this? Can I not? When can I use this? When can I not? And I think that the biggest pieces are printed short material, or just printed material in general. Can we use them? Can we not? And basically, if we're using them for an educational purpose and we're only creating one copy per student and we are obtaining this material legally, then it is okay to use it as long as we are using it for an educational purpose and we're not trying to make any money off of it or anything like that. We as teachers are pretty much given the right of way and a lot of the benefit of the doubt if we're doing something that is going to benefit our students and help them create a better learning experience. So as I scroll down further, just a couple things I wanted to point out that I always find are interesting is one of them is the video one. We're allowed to use video that is obtained legally for sure, but just wanted to point out that this is the big one. It has to be instructional. So if you are using video as some type of reward, that is technically not allowed by fair right laws. So just one thing to be aware of. So if you're going to do something that is some type of reward, make it so that is instructional as well. Even it could be as simple as them comparing and contrasting, 2 different videos that you observe, and then suddenly it becomes not just for entertainment purposes. Music doesn't really apply to me, but if you are going to be using that, you can use that as well. Internet's a big one. Anything, again, that you're using just has to be gotten from a legitimate resource. It can be posted. So I think that we as educators are constantly thinking about the what-if situations on what we can use and what we can't use. But at the end of the day, if we're using it for an educational purpose, we're probably in the clear as long as we're obtaining that information legally, unless it comes to something that we have purchased, like a book. And I'll get it.
Okay, so I want to take a look at the very last question that was given to us, and it says, share your thoughts on the study of the online reading F pattern and how that study might change the way that you will approach activities in your teaching or will it even matter to you at all? So I found it really interesting that while I was reading this F-shaped article, that I'm actually doing the F shape while I'm reading. I'm skimming through. I read the top section to see what the important information was, skimmed down a bit, read that next section horizontally, and then I skimmed down the rest vertically as I'm reading about the F-shaped pattern. So I found that really interesting, and I thought to myself, are my students doing the same exact thing without even realizing it? And I mean, they're only third graders, so they're 8 to 9 years old, so we're not reading really, really lengthy articles yet. But I'm thinking about something as simple as reading the directions. If my directions are a paragraph long, are they just reading that first sentence, skimming down, reading that, fourth sentence, and then skimming the rest down and saying, I got it, I think I understand what I need to do, and maybe that's why they're not completing everything, and I'm thinking that they maybe don't care, or maybe they didn't give the best effort, but maybe it's just that they're using this pattern, and I think I need to revamp even things, like I said, as simple as directions, and smaller things, putting in headings, changing the color, bolding things. And I think that's important for us to do as educators, and to look back and see, like, why were these mistakes made in the first place, or why was this happening? Was it really the student, or was it something that we did that we could revamp and change? So I wanted to also show some things that the article gave ideas of ways that we can go about changing this. So including the most important points in the first 2 paragraphs, for me, I'm thinking more like including the most important points in the first sentence. Because for my kids, they have, the attention span of a squirrel, so I need to make sure that I am really hitting those things home right away. Using bold things, number 5 was a big one. Visually grouping small amounts of related content. So just making sure that there's certain things that are there for my students to really understand what they need to do, or to really take that reading home if it's a smaller passage, and not make things really, really hard on them, because I think that is kind of what I've been doing. So I'm definitely going to take this with me and apply it a little bit more to my teaching, and then I'll touch back base with you guys and see if there's anything that I found that works really, really well.